Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today we're doing something a little different. We're doing a TFT unit tier list. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe because I upload content every single day, playing a lot of TFT and some other games. Been playing this Wilder Myth game, which is really fun, and planning on doing a bunch of other games in the future, and more content like this. So yeah, if you like this video, go ahead and like it, and let's get into the tier list otherwise. Looks like the first unit here is Ezreal. Ezreal is not one of my favorite units at all. I don't know if D tier is a good place to start, but I have a feeling he's D tier. Even with good units, he's just not good. Akali. This is easily an S tier unit. And you can kind of see already that the trend will be lower cost units down below and higher cost units up top, but that definitely won't be the case entirely. Like, for example, Blitz is a 2-cost unit, but I think he's probably A tier. And the reason for that is early game, he's so freaking strong. He can carry a whole round easily if he gets the right unit. So, Blitz, definitely A tier for me. Braum, another strong unit, and I think he's probably A tier as well. I don't know if I would put him above or below Blitz. I'm going to put Braum below Blitz. You don't get as much value out of Braum for the duration of the game. You know, he's strong, but you only get that value late in the game, and Blitz can carry you through stage 3 into 4. Kate's another weak unit, but I would actually put Kate above Ezreal. Maybe high D, low C. Tier 2 Kate with no items can one-shot most units at that stage in the game. So if you get a good Kate ultimate, she can take out any carry, pretty much. Camille, similar situation. I'd put her lower than Kate, though. Tier 2 Camille is pretty strong, especially early game, but not that good. Maybe even high D. One of these two. Might switch it around. Cho'Gath, that's another C tier unit for me. See, so there are some units that are higher cost that really aren't balanced properly for their cost, I don't think. Cho'Gath takes up 2 unit slots. You get a lot of health out of him, but the 2 unit slots just aren't worth it for Cho'Gath. Even if you're going full mutant, it's like, I don't think that the value is really there. 3-star Cho'Gath can be good, but, you know, how many games are you getting a 3-star Cho'Gath? It's not super likely, so he's a C tier for me. Darius, I'd put Darius low C tier. He's not going D tier because of the bodyguard start that you can go with him. If you go Darius and Poppy, where's Poppy? Poppy. If you go Darius and Poppy early game, you win stage 1 pretty much every single time. And for that reason, I'm going to put Poppy in B tier. She's obviously better than Darius because of the buckler toss. You go Darius Poppy, and then you get 100 armor on Poppy, and her buckler toss scales on armor. And she just destroys backline units like crazy. Then gets a shield too, and just tanks super hard. Mundo, that's another unit I would put A tier, probably. Maybe actually B tier. Definitely better than Poppy, without a doubt. Because Poppy you end up selling pretty early on in the game. Mundo, you know, he has like a huge health pool. He gets more health back, but that's all he does. He's just a meat shield. And it's pretty strong, but not as good as Braum with the ultimate utility, anything like that. There's no CC, so not very strong. Echo I would actually put above Mundo, to be honest. His ultimate utility is really good. He slows enemy attack speed, damages them, and just that utility alone is better than Mundo in my opinion. Jhin, I don't know if I want to say Jhin is high B, higher than Echo, or not. Echo fits in more comps and provides a lot more utility for the team. You know, Jhin is a pure carry, and I don't even know if he's one of the best carries. So I'll put him at B tier for now. He obviously does a lot of damage to a lot of the team. And it's kind of a similar story with Fiora, to be honest. High damage, but it's mostly single target unless the target dies while she's ulting. She fits into Challenger build nicely and can be hard to kill because she's untargetable, but not as good as Jhin in my opinion. She does a lot of damage, but it's not like team-wide damage like Jhin is. I think she's better than Echo. We'll just leave her there. Galio. I think Galio is like a top of A tier unit. I don't think he's really S tier, and it's a similar reason to Cho'Gath. Like, taking up 2 team slots is such a hindrance. Plus, Socialite's good, and it can like provide some utility if you have like a Kai'Sa or a Jinx carry or something like that. But then, like Bodyguard, you know, late in the game, Bodyguard doesn't have that much value in my opinion, other than the fact that the units can taunt. But for one Galio, you can have a Leona and a Braum and get that same taunt capability on 2 units, which in my opinion is better. But then again, Leona and Braum don't have the massive amount of damage, the knock-up that Galio has. So I'll put Galio top of A tier. I won't say he's S tier. Gangplank, maybe bottom middle B or top of C tier. He's a decent carry. The gold value is really, really good, actually. You need the right items for Gangplank. You know, you need like a Bloodthirster and Titans, and then maybe like an Infinity Edge or something. If you have the right items on him and you 2-star him, you get a lot of gold. I think he's probably like middle B, probably better than Poppy. Poppy falls off really fast, and you can get quite a bit of value out of Gangplank through mid-game into late game. This is Garen, right? He looks like some Korean K-pop star. He is, in my opinion, one of the worst units. Protector buff is good, but between these 2 units, they're both early game units. I think Garen's better than Ezreal. Maybe not. I'm trying to think like what synergies they have for the stage in the game that you want to use them. And Ezreal has Scrap at least, which with the Ziggs, if you have a Sparring Glove on Ezreal and Scrap, you know, you can get a Hand of Justice, you can get an Infinity Edge, you can get like all kinds of good items for him. Garen with Protector, decent early, falls off super hard late game. Not the best unit. Graves. Graves is probably a bottom C tier unit. He might even have more value than Darius, but probably not. On its own, I would say yes, but Darius has the Bodyguard synergy, which is really powerful. Graves just basically has Twin Shot with Kog'Maw, which early game not very good, and he has the Disarm, which is decent, but I would say that the Bodyguard synergy with Poppy and Darius is better than anything Graves provides. And I'm still trying to consider like Darius on his own with Bodyguard synergy, right? Academic can be decent. Meh. I don't think there's as much use for Graves. He just doesn't fit into as many builds. Heimerdinger. Now Heimerdinger's a decent champion, and he can kind of function as his own carry, but so can Gangplank. I think this is a good spot for Heimerdinger. Illaoi, one of the worst units in the game. Right down there with Garen. You know, you get like Bruiser Synergy, Mercenary. The only reason you have Illaoi on Mercenary is because you need to. You know, you would use any other unit instead of Illaoi with Mercenary if you could. So, that's just a bottom unit. Janna, I don't like doing this because on her own, I don't think she's that useful. She can screw up like a Jhin ult, she can screw up a Heimer ult by moving the enemies out of the way. But she fits into so many comps. You know, 2 Enchanter, you can slide in pretty much anywhere, and the heal is really good from Janna. I think she has to go A tier, even though I don't like doing it, personally. Jace. Jace is going to be, for me, top of A tier or like lower S tier. You know, the frontline backline thing is cool. You get different abilities out of him, whether he's frontline or backline, and those provide different utility. He's a really good frontline unit, but he's not going to solo carry the game for you, you know? And we're getting into some units here soon that will definitely solo carry the game for you. Malzahar. Malzahar for me is probably an A tier unit, even above Jhin. But this is specifically with the Execute augment. Without it, I mean, you could move him down like here probably. Yeah, I mean, with the Execute augment, he's fucking broken. Having a damage over time ability that executes at 20% health is like just, it's completely insane. But most of the time you're not going to get that. You know, if you get like Adrenaline Rush mutants or, you know, any of the other mutant augments, he's fine. He does a lot of damage, but not as much as Jhin. I don't think he can really do much without a front line, and you need Mundo for that, so B tier, middle B tier. Jinx. Alright, Jinx, it's between S tier or high A tier. She does a lot of damage, right? Her explosion does a ton of damage. Her rockets do a ton of damage. But she is squishy and she flies into the enemy team, right? Like when you fly into the enemy team like that and just land in the middle of them, you can die really easily. If you don't have a GA for her, she's not that great. But I think the damage potential of Jinx puts her at S tier regardless. But Kai'Sa and Akali, this could go either way for me. I prefer Kai'Sa personally. I think most people probably do. But I think if you have a strong Akali, your Kai'Sa doesn't really stand a chance without a GA. You know, Kai'Sa can like one-shot a whole team. Not one-shot. Kai'Sa needs to get 2 ults off pretty much to do a lot of damage. Akali can like one-shot your Kai'Sa, and that tends to happen really often. I'm going to leave Akali above Kai'Sa. Kassadin. I think Kassadin is like a honestly top of C tier unit. You basically get a mini Shroud of Stillness from his ultimate. If you have Protector, he gives himself a shield. If you're building mutants, he only takes up 1 slot. He gets pretty tanky, and again, he delays the enemy's ultimates. I think he's better than Cho'Gath, personally. Katarina. I would say Katarina is somewhere around here. Katarina can solo carry, so I think she has to go there. You know, as a 2-cost unit, you can 3-star, and she can solo carry the game. You know, if you have 6 assassins or whatever, she can solo carry. Definitely has to go there. Another 2-cost unit, Kog'Maw. I would put Kog'Maw like there. A lot of damage. Depending on what mutant build you're going, you might go Kog'Maw, you might go Malzahar as one of your carries. I personally don't like Kog'Maw as much as Malzahar. The damage is more inconsistent, right? Like if Malzahar dies, his ultimate keeps going. If Malzahar gets CC'd, his ultimate keeps going. Kog'Maw, none of that stuff is true. Leona, I'd put her low A tier. That makes sense to me. Super tanky. That's about it. She's one of those delay units, kind of like Vex, but in my opinion, not as good as Vex. Lissandra, something like this makes sense to me. She's another kind of frontline tank unit, can do a lot of damage, and it's AoE damage. Decent unit. Lulu, she's probably a high C tier. Lulu you kind of slot in if you want enchanters, and that's about it. Lux. I would say Lux is like a middle A tier unit. middle to high A tier. Now that I'm looking at Blitz, he probably doesn't belong there, but whatever. We'll leave him there. Blitz could probably drop as far as this. Yeah. Anyway, Lux. Very, very good unit. Ton of damage. You don't need a itemizer that specifically for her to be strong. You know, you could either go blue buff, you could go Shojin, you could go Seraphs, you could go JG, you could go IE. That pair, Morella wouldn't even be bad on her. Like, there's so many different things you could do with Lux. And, you know, even it just, if you have like an extra slot in your team and you throw in like a 1-star Lux, you can get a ton of damage out. Swain I would probably put here. Swain's really strong. He does a lot of damage. He heals, just kind of tanks super hard, and but then he falls off. You know, that's kind of the tail of the tape with these two cost units. MF's a decent unit. She got nerfed recently. I'd say she's low B tier. She's not going to do as much damage as Kog'Maw, you know, any of these other units. So, Orianna. I would honestly put her here. Yeah, for me, Orianna's amazing. The utility from the ultimate, the CC from the ultimate, the damage from the ultimate, the synergies that you get with her, really freaking strong. Quinn's probably somewhere around low B, high C, something like that. Maybe high C. She has a disarm, which is really good. Decent damage. I would say Samira is kind of right there with her. Maybe even lower. Samira doesn't have the disarm. She does more damage. But if you're playing challengers, you're not playing challengers for a Samira carry. You know, you're looking for a Yone carry. You're looking for a Kaisa carry. She ends up with no unit, no items, and I think the disarm is just more valuable, to be honest. Seraphine. Seraphine's probably around here. High B, maybe low A. You know, maybe better than Jhin. She needs really good items. If she has really good items, she's really strong. Without items, you're basically just playing her for Socialite. Maybe an extra Innovator. Not much more than that. Shaco. I think he's probably around there. Middle of B tier, maybe low middle. He has no AoE, but he has the untargetable and can do a lot of damage. Especially if you like nab an early Shaco, then he's pretty decent for you, but again, not amazing. Singed, I would say he's easily better than all these D tier champions. And probably even better than, like, Cho'Gath. If I'm being totally honest. Better than Kassadin. Probably better than Lulu. I think here's where you're, like, these champions are probably better than Singed. You get the utility from his throw. You know, he throws the frontline champion into the backline champions, knocks him up. It's not an amazing CC, but it's pretty good, and especially for a 1-cost unit, you 2-star him early. He's a strong frontline unit. Sion. Oh man, I gotta put Sion like low B or something. Low B. How often do you see Sions? You know? How often do you see a Sion being really useful? If you 3-star him or something, his ultimate knocks him up and stuns him for like, I don't remember, it's like 8 seconds or something crazy. But you never see that. And you get like a 1 or 2-star Sion in your Colossus build, and then you have 2 less units than everyone else. And you never really run a single Sion. You always run it with like a Cho'Gath or a Galio. I think it's pretty shit, to be honest. I don't even know if I should put him in B tier, but I will because the stun is pretty decent and it's a huge area. That's all I can say for that, man. Vi. I'm gonna put Vi above Shaco, actually. She can do a lot of damage, and I would say more than most of these other champions in the low B tier here. A 2-star Vi with like a jeweled gauntlet does a ton of damage. Really strong with the Trundle build. Tom Kench. I would put Tom Kench way up here in S tier. The fact that he can just eat a frontline unit and take it off the board for like 5 seconds. He's so tanky. He gets the constant infinite scaling. Not many other units have anything like that. If any. I don't know if there's any other unit that has an infinite scale. I guess Cho'Gath does. But it's not on the same level as Tom Kench. He's probably the best frontline unit in the game. Talon. Talon's decent. Something like that. I don't know if I need to justify it much. He does a lot of damage. But falls off. Taric, I would say, is somewhere around here in terms of value. You get Socialite, you get a fat heal, you get a frontline unit. With a Lulu early, or with a Janna a bit later, or an Ori, you get the Enchanter bonus. I think he's really strong, personally. Tristana. I think Tristana probably goes like there. The reason I'm putting her above Scion is because you can get like a 2 or 3 star Tristana really early. Throw maybe like a Gwynsu's, a Giant Slayer. Like, you have so many itemization options for Tristana. You get the knockback. A lot of damage. Her ultimate, I believe, scales on AP and AD. She's just a good freaking unit, man. And really underrated, in my opinion, too. Trundle's probably around C tier. Trundle's probably around C tier. You need the right items for him. He's not that strong. You know, you need a 3-star Trundle. You need the right items. Then you push him maybe high B tier. On his own, it's kind of a wash, I think. Like, I'm thinking of Trundle as like a 2-star unit with no items, right? Then he's worse than Samira. He's worse than Quinn. He's probably better than Talon. I don't even know, man. He's not very good. He's fine, though. I would say he's around here with the right items, but without him, that looks good. TF, I would put just below Kate, honestly. With a Morello, he can do a lot of damage. He can put out multiple ultimates in a fight. Does AoE, spread damage. He misses really often, though. And it's kind of a similar situation to Ziggs, who I would probably say is, like, here. Where, like, he misses his ultimate often. With Ziggs, he misses way too frequently, and he's, like, one of the first units you ditch if you're going Arcanist. Ziggs is crap. TF's a little better. Ziggs is here. Ziggs is worse than Alawi, man. Alawi can't miss her ult. Twitch is kind of a similar story here. Shit tier. Decent damage. You get a 2-star Twitch really early. He'll carry you through the first carousel, and then he falls off. He's not good. Urgot is probably a B tier unit. Just trying to figure out where in B tier he goes. Yeah, he's got to be high B tier for me. He's got to be. I mean, you don't need perfect items for Urgot for him to do well, like you do for something like a Trundle. You know, you want Runons, you want IE, you want GA, and then beyond that, you could go Last Whisper. You know, you could mutant him if you have the twin, the whatever the twin shot mutant buff is. He's pretty freaking strong. Vex. I think Vex is one of the most interesting units in the game. As a 3 cost, she's one of the best frontliners in the game, and honestly, I think this is the best spot for her. I'd prefer her over Braum. I'd prefer her over Leona. I would say she's like in line with Jace in terms of power, and definitely better than Galio. The shield is huge. It stalls out the game for so long. I think Vex is the best 3-cost unit in the game. Maybe the best non-5-star unit in the game. Victor. I would say Victor is top of A tier. The reason for this, the reason he's not S tier, and I know you guys are probably screaming at me, but the reason he's not S tier is because his ultimate takes way too long to get off. You need Shojin. You probably want blue buff too, and then you have room for one damage item, and then he's not doing that much damage at that point. Even a 2-star Victor with a Shojin and a blue buff, and I don't know, Rabadons or a JG, he can carry, but if you get to him and kill him, he's done for, you know? Then you think, I need a GA on him. So then you go Shojin, GA, and Jeweled Gauntlet, something like that. That might be the best Victor build. I don't think he's as good as Jinx. I don't think he's as good as Kaisa, and I don't think he's as good as Akali. Warwick. I'd say Warwick falls in line like right here with these other kind of 2-star melee AD carries. I don't really know if it matters much where he goes in here. I'd say he's probably better than Trundle. A 2-star Warwick with no items is going to be better than Trundle for sure. Probably not as good as Samira, but he'll carry you early game. Yone. Yone, I think, needs to go A tier. I don't think Yone is as strong as Lux, necessarily, but he definitely can be. If you get the right items on Yone, which they're not honestly that hard to get. I've played a lot of challengers, and the Yone items are really not that hard to get, and a 2-star Yone is not that hard to get. And if you 2-star all your challengers, minus maybe Kaisa, 1-star Kaisa, and you have a GA on Yone, he'll easily carry. So I'd say he's A tier. I think since you need him in a challenger build, I don't think he surpasses Vex. But I honestly think he's better than Galio. Yuumi for me is like probably here. She's similar to Tom Kench in that she can slot into any build, which I think puts her above Jinx, Victor, Jace. Although Jace can slot into any build, I don't think the value of Jace is as much as Yuumi. Yuumi has that stun. Yuumi has a heal, a shield. She does everything. She doesn't die easily. And then you just throw her in and round off any comp. She's a great unit. Leave it at that. Before I did this tier list, Zac was kind of my middle of B tier unit. And I think I'm going to keep it that way. Tanky, CC. He might even be better than Mundo in my opinion, as a tank. Since he has CC, he dies more easily, but if you're running Chemtech between these two, I'd say they're about equal. Zilean, I was gonna put him C tier. I was gonna put Zilean B tier. But then that ruins the aesthetic I have going on. So I think he's probably top of C tier champion. It's a similar situation to Quinn, where he doesn't do a lot of damage, but he's got good utility. You're not going to use him in many late game builds. Yeah, Zilean's probably about there for me. Zyra. Zyra's not good. Zyra is okay. I think Zyra fits in somewhere with these other 2 costs. She does decent damage. She's not going to carry your game. I'd put her above Talon, but below these 2. I will say Trundle is actually the best of these C tier 2 costs because he can carry a game for you, whereas like Warwick and Zyra won't, and Talon really won't either. Zyra's good on her own as like a 2-star with that ultimate. It's a huge AoE, but beyond that, not very good. So anyway, guys, that is the tier list I came up with. I hope you liked it. as you probably predicted, a lot of the 5 costs are up here and a lot of the 1 costs are down here. But there, I think, is a good mix. That's not the best from a balance perspective, but I think it keeps the game interesting where, you might want to run a Lissandra over a Fiora. You might want to run a Malzahar over a Scion. You might want to run a Tristana over a Samira. I think those types of things keep the game more interesting. So yeah, if you liked the video, go ahead and like it. Leave a comment below of what you would have changed anytime you were screaming at me. Leave a comment about that. I'd love to hear it. And subscribe to the channel if you really liked it. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. Peace.